quickly after the actual real-world release, we'll try to get the SDK out so that people can move over their old favorites and change them up. And Randy Ledeen, who's helped create the look and feel here, will also release like the Zeus, right, where there's the texture packs and you can make that style of map. If anything, hopefully we'll see some more cool stuff because there's some different locations than was the CSS. So there's a bigger expansion of the textures available.
And what changes have you made to some of the other maps? I know when we were in Seattle, we played Inferno, for example, which did have some small changes in there. Which maps have you hit the heaviest with your redesigns?
Probably Dust and Aztec. The two maps that had kind of fallen out of favor, that had once been in favor. So Dust adding another way to flank and kind of adding some noise into the underpass so that you could actually sneak down there. And that's always a really fun map when we play internally, just because that's such a quick, fast map. And people have seen that now probably to death. That's what we always take out on the road because it is a quick, fast map. And then Aztec, having lightning strike when somebody crosses the bridge, that may have not been the best choice. So we've removed that. And we've actually removed some parts of the map that weren't really being used, but we found new players would get lost in them.
Yeah.
And in all the maps, we've standardized the spawns. And so that mixes everything up a little bit. It's an odd thing to go back for a game that we've released and say, well, I don't quite understand some of the thinking in some of the maps where it obviously favored one team over the other heavily. So we wanted to always make sure that when we go back, we want to make sure that the maps are running pretty tight and pretty close. Oh, here we go.
And this is terrain which has not been seen before, I think, at all to the public.
Not clearly, yes. Yeah. And
desperately
trying to jump on that train.
While I was just watching K-Shop there, who was figuring out that he probably couldn't get on that train, with the Deagle. Now, there's one quite startling difference between Source and 1.6, and that is the Deagle. What's the Deagle like in CSGO? What can players expect from it here?
I'm trying. So, well, first of all, it does get a name Desert Eagle and not Nighthawk. I'm trying to think. How would you describe the changes?
CSS Deagle.
We kept the CSS Deagle.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah, I don't think that's such a bad idea, to be honest. I mean, we saw a lot of those eco rounds in 1.6.
Nice shot there.
A little bit stale sometimes, let's be honest.
Yeah.
In Source, you get that Deagle and that can change the whole game. But what other weapon changes have you brought in here? What new weapons have you brought in as a whole? I mean, obviously we can talk a little bit maybe about the decoy grenade and the Molotov cocktail a little bit later on. But in terms of the guns themselves, the kind of big four, if you want to call them, we've got the AWP on top of it, but the AK, the M4, the Galil, the FAMAS, are the changes there, and how should people expect to see them?
Well, so what we did was we looked. Some of those weapons were chosen 12 years ago for whatever the special forces were using then. Some of these special forces have obviously moved on.
Yeah, I was that was a big point that some guys in the community were making, that we should probably upgrade the weapons at some point.
I'll let you guess the most controversial removal, which is really a renaming.
USB.
Yes, exactly. But it's the P2000 is the new version of it, and it behaves the same way. So I guess if you were really married to the name, because maybe you got it tattooed somewhere,
I'm sure some
you're
people
probably
do.
You're probably going to be depressed. But if it's not tattooed on your body and you're just using it, you could jump over to the P2000 and you're going to be equally happy with it. But it really was just looking at we wanted to base it on real world situations in that sense. So we have real world names of the weapons, and we wanted to update to what people were really using these days.
What about I would see here actually the M4 being used, which is still in the game. The AK is still there. How have you changed or tweaked the AK and M4, which are the most popular two rifles in Counter-Strike as a whole?
So those we didn't have to play with as much, right? And they're what you're familiar with. What we really saw was like the submachine gun class of people just not using them, and wanting to make those a more viable alternative. And so there's some tweaking that happened in there. I think probably out of the beta, one thing we'll see is the pricing of those change as we see what people start using and what's too good for this price range.
Yeah.
And so in that case, like you said, when the guys came out to Seattle, everyone played 4 weapons. we didn't get any feedback in any others. We needed some other feedback, and so that was interesting to see how people saw the changes in those weapons. And we'll see that in the beta.
So let's start then what I mentioned earlier, the real new stuff into Counter-Strike Go, which is let's start with the decoy grenade, a grenade which, on the map it shows as though someone's firing, you get the sound there. What was the thoughts behind the whole addition of the decoy grenade? So just so you know, a lot of times you see, right, people are taking routes and they're checking off if someone's taking that route or not, and so throwing the decoy out there makes you hesitant. You see a lot of video that came out of Eurogamer in particular, I saw, of people throwing the decoy directly at somebody. That's not really good. They know where you are, that you're standing there. But the decoy is really good if you want to have the entire team go one way. So you throw the decoy out. It's going to be using a weapon that you're actually using and make the sounds accordingly. And what about the Molotov? There was some discussion as whether that is too big of a spread, too much damage here and there. How have you gone about balancing the Molotov? It's through our play tests. I mean, that's something that during the beta we're probably going to see some adjustment on. We thought it was fun that the minute everyone came to Seattle and started playing, it wasn't frowned upon. It was like, okay, we understand how we can use this, and it's nice for like blocking a route when we just need that break to take a look down another route. And, it's, again, one of those weapons you see in the videos of people throwing it at people directly. Yeah. Not really a good way to use it. It's about blocking off and removing a route. And so as people learn and they'll play it, they'll get adjusted to it. And that's one of the things we'll see in the beta of as we make changes, we always have to let that change sit for a while because people adjust to how to play differently based on that. So, and what about the taser itself? That's obviously another new addition to the Counter-Strike family. What was the thinking behind the taser? Was that kind of to give a bit more mid-range instant kill?
Oh, no,
kind of long-range knife?
It's the Zeus, and it's all about humiliation. Because you can use it only once. Yeah. It's $1,000, and you have to be really close to use it. So if you want to throw the $1,000 down just to humiliate somebody, pre-round, you got to make that choice pre-round that you're going to do that. So it becomes interesting in that way. Think we're going to be seeing taser eco rounds in the future? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. We're going to see some crazy tactics. That takes some confidence to do that. That you're willing to throw 2 rounds away just for that one kill. A comment from or a question from Corey Dunn, who's been a bit of a Counter-Strike broadcaster himself. The Defuse kit. You've gone with a separate system this time. It costs money. Everyone could buy it on the CT side before. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it's randomly given to one of the CT players. Two players. 2 players. So that was some feedback. We originally just had it 1 player, and then when people came up to Seattle, they gave us the feedback of that stops if people had gone the 2 separate routes, and that really hamstrings them. So 2 people get it, and then it makes you kind of have to. You can drop it, yeah, and you can choose around who gets it then. But it makes you kind of decide, right, be able to split up and still handle it. But it's not something that you have to purchase. I think that balances it out a bit more, being able to drop it and select who you're going to go and switch it off, because we did have that problem where the Defuse kit went off to one bomb site, they rushed into the other one, and then you have a little bit of a problem. So another question from Windiano, who says, what will CSGO bring to the table that Source didn't, and what makes this game new enough to try? Part of it is just the development process in general. I think during CSS, we probably didn't have our eyes open enough to really what the community was talking about and wanting. Like now, if someone would go up to you and say, well, CS 1.6 and CSS are the same game, you would punch them, right? I know a few people who would. Because they are. And those subtleties, we want to make sure we're recapturing and understanding. And if we're not doing it, it's because we've consciously chose to go a different route and the reasoning for that. And so in that sense of building it with the community and making sure that everybody's involved in that and those choices are to make it competitive and still have that high skill ceiling, I think is what makes it new and different. It's still the hook that CS is really unique of we haven't touched it for very many years, right? We do some bug fixing and stuff, but we haven't touched the core gameplay. And other shooters come and go, and CS stays around, both Source and 1.6. And I think the reason for that is just that level of skill-based competition that few other games capture. And so our biggest thing we wanted to do when we were making CSGO is to not lose that. We didn't want to worry about what other companies are doing, what other games are doing. They're fun. I play them, but we wanted to stay true to making Counter-Strike a Counter-Strike game.
What's your hope as a developer? Is it to make a new community here, to make a third Counter-Strike community? Is it to really grab one of the two, or is it to unite everyone?
You can't force anybody to change. Obviously, we've learned that. But our hope would be as people see are coming out to events like this, getting feedback from people at these events, getting feedback from the community in the beta, that it's their CS, and it's the CS that they should be playing. But again, obviously, you can't force people to do that. But we would love to see it become the CS everyone's playing. But that's not to say that we're going to do anything to hurt the other CSs or not update them, not do bug fixes. We'll still fully support them. But sure, in our perfect dream world, everyone would move over. We know that's not going to happen. We respect people's decision why. Because, if you talk to people outside the community, they'll tell you, those 1.6 players, they don't want anything new, blah, blah, blah. Or they have old computers, they can't play it. And it's like, no, there's a difference to the game, and they prefer those differences. They prefer the skill changes or the